What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Around the League. It's yours truly, DTLF, man. And, we got a lot to talk about, starting with the Lakers, and probably going to stay with the Lakers for this episode. I can't do it by myself. I need the Avengers to assemble. Let me go ahead and get a fan favorite, man. Solo. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Welcome to Around the League, bro. Can't wait to hear your takes today.
Thank
And
you.
the next guy I also want to introduce is, you guys know him already, man. D Free. You can find him all over the net, including Lakers Nation, man. Welcome, brother. How you doing?
Doing good. Hope you are as well.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So let's dive right into it, guys, because it's been the talk of what seems like everybody around the league right now, and that's the Lakers getting that 41-point beatdown last night. We kind of touched on it on phone call on the phone calls section of the show yesterday, but I want to go more in depth now. Obviously, the Lakers have multiple problems, but in your guys' opinion, what seems to be the biggest problem currently right now? I'm gonna start with you, Solo.
Roster construction. We'll put it there. Rob Pelinka has failed us. He's failed us. Ever since we won the championship, we've known we've needed a big man and some 3-and-D wings. And he's done the opposite. He hasn't given us any of that. Try to find these bargain basement centers that are too thin, don't have any heart. We need you have an injury-prone star in Anthony Davis. You have an aging superstar in LeBron James. Why aren't we doing the proper things to assure that to assure their longevity? All we need is AD to go down and it's a wrap. It's over with. You know what I'm saying? We need somebody that can help him out on the glass, because if we want him to play offense, let's be honest, he can't be the sole focus on defense. We have to have other guys that can help him out, that can help him grab boards, defend the rim. Even before he even gets to the rim, we need to have guys that can hold their own on the perimeter. We don't have that. And then LeBron James, he's 40 years old. Like, granted, he's still one of the best players. He's better than a majority of the league still. However, being his age, he has to take a break, man. He's looking around. He's like, can I get a breath, please? Something. And there's just nobody on this roster that can give these guys a break. And in order for us to go anywhere in the playoffs, we have to be able to have rested superstars that can take us over the top.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I you know what? Is he one of the better players in the league now? I mean, where would you guys rank him, like, in the league right now, the way he started off the season and the way he's projected to kind of decline moving forward? Like, is he top 10 still?
I think he's still top 10 if we have because honestly, we have to treat him like a sports car. We can't expect him to be playing 30 plus minutes a night and get the most value out of him at this point in his career. But if we're putting the pieces around him where he can get his breaks, he may be able to take a game off here or there, and guys could fill in and carry the burden. You're gonna get that superstar the rest of what he has to offer out of him. But if we don't make any changes, he might be one of the worst. He'll fall out of the top 10 easy.
Okay, I like that take. D Free, your assessment on what the Lakers need the most and what's like our biggest issues right now.
It's hard to, I think it's hard to pinpoint what they need the most, because I feel like they need a lot of things, which it makes it kind of weird, because when I say they need 3-and-D guy, they need athletes around. They would really love a downhill guard to get to the rim and put pressure. Like, they'd love a big man. They probably love a couple big men. It's kind of hard. Like, I don't really know what they need the most, because I don't think any one thing is going to fix whatever they've got going on. Because I'll say this, I with all that, I think Trevor had a really good point on a show that he did. He said you could say they need this, they need that, X's and O's, whatever it is. But it doesn't matter if they don't have the effort. So, can you hear me?
Well, yeah. Sorry about that. This
Oh,
thing's
yeah. I was like, wait a minute. No.
it's been glitching out on me today. Go ahead. Sorry, brother.
Yeah, I was saying
hear
like,
you.
yeah, it doesn't matter what they get as long as they don't put out the effort out there. So I think first and foremost, that's where it has to start with this team. And that starts with our stars. Like, they've got to worry about getting back. And with LeBron, it's such a weird thing because saying he's 40 is almost like a built-in excuse because you expect for him to not have that motor going at 100, and it's understandable, right? But at the end of the day, while he was willing to take a pay cut, he didn't, and he's paid like he's out there, on a $50 million deal, and he needs to perform. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So that being said, with the way the roster is, if they're not going to make a bunch of changes, we need more effort from all of our guys, and I think it starts with our stars. On the topic of LeBron, he's kind of weird. You said, is he still one of the top guys? I think he is. I think he's got the peak, like when he is on his stuff and he is performing. He's obviously got the top 5 peak. Like he can give that to you every now and again because it's in there. But I think on a consistent basis, he's probably closer to 13 to 17, somewhere in that range, which is still a top 95 or so % player in the league, maybe better than that, 97, something like that % player in the league. But I think that you're not going to see that top 5 guy as much going forward because he's picking and choosing his spots, choosing when he's going to burn the energy and things like that. So I think that's more or less where he's closer to right now. But we just need more effort from these guys. And if we were to go out there and say we need a trade, probably another big. I want a bruising big, but I kind of want a 4-5 big. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of want somebody that could be switchable out there with this team because they love switching everything. Right. I don't want to be locked into a drop with like a Kessler or something like that, although I would love to have him on the team. But I kind of want a 4-5 big. I don't know who that is, but somebody like that.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So, wow. Okay. A 4-5 big. I haven't thought of that, how that would fit next to AD. But yeah, as long as he can rim protect, I'm all for it, man. As long as he can. So, guys, Anthony Davis was quoted as saying, we got to stay together as a team, as a unit, and make sure that this doesn't turn into something that we don't want. What do you guys think that means? What do you guys think he means by that? Like, what is he trying to, like, point out? And I'll let D-Free go first. Go ahead.
Well, they don't want to, obviously flip the opposite end of 500. They don't want to do that. They want to stay in the playoff picture and they want to stay afloat. I think that's more so what he means. He's had some interesting quotes where he's like, we're not going to be a great defense, but we've got to be average. We got to do these different things and all that stuff. So I think he just doesn't want to fall, down the standings too much. The thing is, like, if you start falling now, it can be really hard to recover later because of how the West is. But also at the same time, they're like, what are they now? Like 9th seed or something like that.
Yeah,
they're still only a couple games back from like a top 3 seed. So the West is so congested right now. So I wouldn't overthink it, but they don't want to keep falling.
So that's a translation. Okay, that's interesting. What about you, Solo? What do you translate that into, man?
I think there's a lot of bad energy in the locker room right now, and I believe they keep losing in the fashion that they're losing. Pipes start to burst, man. And, that locker room might just flip upside down. They might be at each other's throats. It can go get real volatile in there. And I'm not saying that they would throw blows or anything like that with each other. But as far as not trusting each other on the court, helping each other out on defense, calling out screens, things of that nature, they might, decide to look the other way and, they start slipping and it completely implodes. So that's kind of what I think he may mean by that, but it wouldn't be good to, fall and in the standings more than what we are, man. They got to really start to put the pedal to the metal because like D-Free said, the West is real tight right now. And some of those teams up top, they're losing games. So there's still a little room where we can advance a little bit, but we got to figure something out.
Yeah, absolutely, man. My translation to what AD meant right there if I could chime in here really quick, is that there's got to be something really wrong with this team as far as what's going on in the locker. Like maybe they're disconnected, right? And I got weird vibes from a couple players coming into training camp. It almost feels like, again, it's starting to feel. I don't want to give anybody PTSD, but it's starting to feel like the Russell Westbrook days again. Mind you, we have a Russell in the locker. I'm not saying he's the problem, but I'm just saying, like, this is intriguing to me because what he said was, we can't come undone, basically. And so now you start wondering, what could it be? Could it be that LeBron isn't leading the men right? Could it be that LeBron is kind of separated from the team? Remember, he got off of social media, right? Could it be that maybe LeBron and AD aren't leading as they're supposed to? Can we finally start pointing the finger at them as leaders? Because at the end of the day, we went through 3 coaches with these 2 guys already. 3 of them, right? So at one point, we got to stop pointing the finger at the coach and start looking the other direction, obviously at the front office, but also at the players that are on the court, right? And JG also said something interesting. He said, everybody has to take accountability. He's like, especially the guys that are out there on the floor. So, I just found it really interesting that he had that to say after last night's beatdown. And I want to see how that translates. Also, LeBron James talk about, I don't want to misquote him, but if you can help me here, D Free. He said something about along the lines of, everybody has to show up, right? Like, in particular, who was he calling out in that case, right?
Well, I think he said there's no X's and O's. It's on us. It's not on the front office. We need to go out there and perform, which is largely the same thing JJ said. He said he takes credit for it, but the guys on the court need to take credit or ownership of it too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know with LeBron, like what sometimes I think he gets a little too much credit for trying to be, what's the word? Sly. I don't really know that he always is. Sometimes he just kind of like, people say LeBron always knows what he's doing. Sometimes he's just saying something because that's how people are. And in this case, I don't know that he was trying to take a shot at anybody. I think it was more about him just saying our whole team's bad without saying our whole team's bad. Right.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that's more about it. So yeah, that's probably the way I would perceive that.
Oh, for sure. Next phase. Appreciate the super chat, man. My guy said pride. These Lakers don't play like they are a part of a Lakers legacy. Find guys who are hungry. Guys like Stanley Johnson played like they were balling for their livelihood with desperation. That's another.
They were also though.
Yeah,
he was.
That's another thing. Yeah, with all these guaranteed contracts, nobody really is playing for their job right now per se. Everybody's locked in right now. But I agree with you. Next phase, they got to show a little more pride, and I think it's on the front office as well to try to get a better combination with these stars to go out there and get some hard-nosed players. Like if you look at the make of this team, it's all over the place. Like we have one potentially great shooter in Dalton Connect, and he's a rookie, right? Everybody else is hit or miss. 1 month they're on, the next month they're off, right? Just like LeBron, he started the year shooting a career high from beyond the arc. Now he can't hit the side of the backboard right now, right? And then Austin Reeves, he started the year shooting really well from the field, and now like his production had dipped before the injury. So, right, like the Lakers have to do a better job of finding consistency, and I think that consistency comes to both ends right there, not just on one side of the ball. All right, now I know it's early, guys, but people have been talking. I'm asked this question based on what they're saying. They're saying that JJ Redick has had multiple 25-point losses this season already, and that he deserves the same criticism as Darvin Ham. Why don't you agree with this statement, Solo?
I disagree because we saw what they looked like when the season started. We saw the ball movement. We saw the implementation, of his offense for this team. I think it's a little too early. We've dealt with a bunch of injuries. We're missing some key pieces, like Vanderbilt. He changes a lot of things for us on the defensive end, and he's one of those type of guys that when he's on the floor, everybody's defense gets better. You know what I'm saying? Like I noticed when he's on the floor, D'Lo and Austin Reeves, they're getting the passing lanes a lot more. Like they disrupt a lot of things when Vando is out there. And it puts a lot of pressure on teams. So him not being there, and we're we don't have any big men, you know. And the one guy that we do have, Christian Coloco, he's really not getting any minutes. And when he is out there, it's not, you know, really changing anything in the game. So I just think it's a lot of injuries. We need to make a trade. There's a lot of little things that have to change, but I think JJ's on to something. You know, we clearly see the difference in this team. However, there's just a laundry list of things: the injuries, LeBron's age, a lot of dead weight on the bench. That's making him look bad, in my opinion.
No, absolutely, bro. You're right about that. The dead weight problem, man. That's a front office problem again, because we have a lot of unplayable players that currently hold roster spots, right? Not to single out Bronny or anybody like that, but Jalen Hood-Schifino, right? A first round pick from last year, not playable right now for the most part. He had a decent game, and then he got hurt, but he's really not somebody you can count on consistently to go out there and give you some two-way production. Bronny James hasn't been playable either. Who else? Maxwell Lewis also has a guaranteed contract. Am I correct at D3? So he's not.
He's on the same deal as Bronny.
Right. So these are kind of like, what are the Lakers doing? That's my biggest question. Are we rebuilding? Because that's what we're drafting players like Jalen Hood and Maxwell Lewis who aren't ready to contribute right now. And at the same time, we're over here trying to get some veterans like Gabe Vincent. So it never makes sense the way they're constructing the roster right now, as at least not on paper, right? On top of that, we're extremely thin in the front line due to the injuries to guys like Vando and Christian Wood. And, you know, I think that's the direction we should go in once December 15 hits. You know, I think that's where the sense of urgency should be. Where do you guys think, and anybody can go, where do you guys think that the Lakers should prioritize? What position? Well, I think D3 kind of partially already answered this one. He said a center and power forward. So if you could elaborate on that a little more, that'd be great. What position we prioritize?
Maybe Wood theoretically fits that. Sorry. Maybe Wood theoretically fits that as a 4-5 that could space. He was pretty good for us last year, especially on the defensive glass. That's something we really need a lot of help with. But if it's not Wood in particular, maybe like a Larry Nance type or somebody like that would be good on this roster. But that's more for spacing, ball movement, switchability. But I would also really like somebody like, obviously, Kessler. He somebody like that, a bruising big, which JJ also said he would like, is somebody that I think we could get. But I think the thing is too is that, like, we don't just need one thing. We don't have a lot of archetypes on our roster. Like, there's a lot of different types of players we simply don't have because there's a lot of duplication on our roster with the way that players play. And I also want to caution people, because while contracts can be traded, a lot of them, some players are not available until January 15th, whatever. Like, for example, Valanciunas can be traded on the 15th. Jovan was saying on his show on YouTube the other day that he would expect the trades to be closer to the deadline. So don't think that just because December 15 hits, they're going to immediately make a trade, because that doesn't typically happen. They're going to probably still try to hold on because asking prices are still very high, and they're not trying to get fleeced. It may take a while. It may be until January. Remember the Rui trade, the year he got traded? That was a few weeks before the deadline, and that was an early trade. So that was like January area. So maybe that happens again this year. Now, you could argue they don't want to wait. They can't wait. They shouldn't wait. But if people are still trying to fleece you, you got to kind of wait it out.
I told the people the same thing the other day during pregame, and I said, history will tell us that we're not going to make a trade on December 15th or close to that. So, but yeah, what about you, Solo? What do you think, bro? What would you prioritize position-wise? I know we got plenty of needs, but is there something you're targeting if you're Rob Pelinka right now?
Center and a point guard. We need a guard that can help push the tempo, attack the basket, and we need a big that can help clean the glass, man. We're poor rebounding team. We definitely need that rebounding punch. And I want to save AD, man, because like I said, if he goes down, it's a wrap. It's over with. So we really need to preserve him at all costs if we want to keep this thing going. But the front office, man, this is the type of thing that they should understand better than us fans. They should understand that, you know, the league wants to fleece them. I feel like the league doesn't want to see the Lakers on top ever. You know it's difficult. So if you know it's difficult, don't make things difficult on yourself. You know, make the right moves. Don't, you know, I think we just had this thing where it's like we got to have a name, you know, instead of putting the right pieces together, right? You know, I think that's what messed us up when they made that Westbrook trade. That was very detrimental to this team, and it really set us back. And now we're struggling to try to get back on track. You know, so it's like we have to avoid those things because this isn't the NBA of the past. You got to get with the times now. You know what I mean? So and I think the 3 superstar lineup is played out, is dead. You know, you have to have a deep roster if you want to make it into the playoffs, especially the way these guys get injured these days. You know, they're hurt all the time, and when they are hurt, they're out for a long time. So you have to construct your roster with those things in mind, especially when you have 2 superstars, one that's aging and one that's very injury prone. So when you have to think about your 2 stars and build around them and their needs. And I feel like Rob Pelinka hasn't done it, and he's been sitting on his hands. So he has to make something happen sooner rather than later. But like D Free said, it's going to be tough out there. So hopefully he can make something happen, because if not, it's a wrap. Might as well shut it down.
Man, it is going to be tough. I got to ask you guys this, though. We got to be realistic as Laker fans. And there's a question that pains me to ask, but if you guys had to bet the house right now, on both LeBron and AD, that they can ever win another championship again together as a duo, assuming everything goes well, right? The Lakers make the right trades. You know, we surround them with the shooters they need, the defenders and the rebounders and all of that. Do they still have what it takes to win a championship together as a duo? You got to bet the house. D Free, your house is on the line. Solo, your house is on the line right now. And whoever wants to go for it.
So if everything is perfect, like the roster is perfect, everything, you put them in the perfect situation.
We made the right trades at the trade deadline. We gave 2 first-round picks. We brought in, let's just say, for the sake of conversation, we brought in Walker Kessler and Colin Sexton and a wing defender, Dorian Finney-Smith.
I mean, that's pretty enticing. I think they could. I think they could do it with good health. I think they could. You need good health, and you need good matchups. You don't need to be against a team that I don't know who this is, but you don't need to be against a team that would give you troubles. You need to have that good lineup, and I think they could do it. So that's asking a lot. If they don't do that, I don't think, as presently constructed, of course, even with good matchups, this team can do it. Because I think that's what it comes down to, is like the comment says, who are we playing? Because if we get that good matchup, you know, then like, for example, last year, OKC was really good, but I'm pretty positive we would have won that match, and we would have advanced to round 2 if we had played them in the first round instead of the Nuggets. And maybe that playoff run looks different. I don't know that we make it to the finals, but maybe it looks different. So I think that's the type of thing.
Laker fans aren't feeling so confident. Look, my guy Dame Mo said, who we going up against before I get the house. I feel you, bro.
That matters, man. It matters.
We're going up against everybody. If you win a championship, and you got to go up against the best.
Well, no, you could get that Nuggets run where they kind of didn't really play nobody.
That's true.
And then got to the finals against the play-in team.
But in the West, I wouldn't bet on it in the West. The West is tough. Solo, you betting the house or not?
Nah, man, I got mouths to feed, bro. I can't do it. I can't do it, man.
Hey, but if you're right, you get 2 houses, man.
That's true, but it's a long shot.
Yeah,
honestly, it is. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna be implemented a lot of pieces. They got to be able to gel. You know what I mean? They got to get their chemistry in order. Then you got to have some luck on your side, man. Hopefully, some injuries along the way for other teams. You know, and a lot of things got to swing your way in order for that, championship run to happen. You know, like when we went in 2020, honestly, luck broke our way because, you know, COVID happened. They got the rest up a bit, and they came in there healthy and ran it. So it's gonna take some luck. If even if we get the perfect trades going on, we're gonna have to need a little bit of luck on our side in order for that to happen.
Yeah, man. I think that's the case for most championships, though,
yeah,
where you need just a little bit of luck along the way, because that stuff all matters, right? I think with this team, it depends on how they are at, like with our stars at the end of the year. I think you'd be looking to try to catch lightning in a bottle like you did that Western Conference run where they made those trades and took off running instantly that season. And they were super duper good with and without certain players. LeBron was in and out of the lineup. D'Lo was in and out of the lineup. It didn't matter. They just kept winning all their games. I think LeBron is an interesting one because I expect him to be better than he has been, because when you look at his statistics, box plus minus, VORP, which is value over replacement player, you look at everything, like literally everything. He is at nearly a career low field goal percentage, everything. This is basically the worst season of his career, aside from his rookie season, which is kind of crazy, right? But also not crazy because he's 40. Right. But you consider the last year where he had career highs in a lot of these things, and he's still around the bottom in usage. His usage has ticked up a decent bit lately, and so I'm worried about that too. But his performance in all of his metrics across the board has not been good. So I'm wondering, like, I know he'll be better, but can they put him in a better position to impact? Because what it means is that he's not impacting these games. He's basically been empty calories, largely put. That's what that means, right? Yep. And it doesn't matter how you perceive that. The reality is that he's not been getting us wins. I don't want to say that. He stole that Kings game, but like it's largely empty calories across the board. So can they put him in a better position to be more impactful? I think that matters.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. I think LeBron James will have to be, our third option, honestly, at this point in his career, because of his age. It's not to say that he's not good and he's not great. I know he is, and I know it's still in there. However, Father Time is undefeated. It don't matter how much money you're making. I still try to go out there and roll with my son, and then wrestle with him, but I can't. There's only so long I can go,
Yeah. It's crazy to say that, though, when he puts up 22, 8, and 9 per game, which is insane for most guys in the league, right?
He's overachieving for anybody.
It's crazy, especially a 40-year-old. Nobody's done what he's done. It's crazy. He's one of one. It's not translating the way that you're used to.
Right, because it was more explosive. He was able to dictate the outcome. You know what I mean? He could manipulate the defense how he wanted to. But now he's slowed down. He's not jumping as high. You need to have those pieces around him that have not only the ability but the high basketball IQ to know when to cut. Because I think LeBron James, I don't think he's just making these sloppy passes just to be making them. I think part of it is guys aren't where they're supposed to be. Part of it is Father Time, and we need more high IQ basketball type players on this team that understand how to move off ball. So then LeBron can hit them in the places that they need to be. And also our guys need to hit their shots, because clogging up the lane is making it more difficult for LeBron to make those dime passes that he likes to make. So until we can get some smarter basketball play and guys starting to hit shots, it's gonna be tough sledding.
I'm gonna be honest with you, fellas, man. I you know what? Unless we get miracle trades, I honestly don't think LeBron and AD can win another championship. Like I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking heavy on this. For two reasons. For one, because again, LeBron, look, I mentioned it before the season started. LeBron would have to be the third or fourth option on this team in order for us to be successful. That means that Rui and Austin, God knows who else was going to have to step up. It hasn't really happened, right? So, look, LeBron can no longer be the number one option, and AD has never been a number one option. That's my biggest problem. So unless they went out and actually traded for a third star who can be a second or a first option, it seems really far-fetched. The way the West is right now, the way how strong the Celtics are looking right now, coming off of a championship. I hate to mention them, but realistically, it's going to be really hard. And matter of fact, we got to hold the front office for that, because if they wasted away AD and LeBron's prime years, it's been 2 years since they made a trade. 2 years, and that was like, come on, you mean to tell me you couldn't? Other teams that were on top of the West, they made trades this offseason. They acquired pieces, guys. Teams like the Thunder. Meanwhile, the Lakers sat on their hands and did nothing after we basically got back-to-back swept by the Denver Nuggets. So, again, I'm not even mad at AD and LeBron. I'm mad at the front office, because if the window is officially closed, one championship, and we got to get into this next topic. What would you guys consider the biggest mistake Rob Pelinka has made in his tenure as a GM so far? What's
That's an easy one.
Plenty. But which one is your biggest mistake? Go ahead, D3.
The Russ trade. I mean, that's pretty easy. That one. Well, because I can understand why that one was enticing, because I don't think we remember what Russ did that year prior. He put up 22, 12, and 12. The Wizards started slowly. He brute forced them into the playoffs. I think they got eliminated the first round, but he still looked explosive. He looked very good that season prior to that. So it's not terrible to understand why they would try to go for it, because the Lakers have always wanted to go for all the stars. That's always been the motto. And so the problem with that was that the fit was clunky, but you could talk yourself into it due to the sheer amount of talent out there. But regardless, things just didn't work out. I don't know that it would have worked out with those guys specifically. I think Russ was just a little bit too far gone. Like he basically fell out of his prime right after that. So like, I don't know that it would have worked out regardless, but I think that was easily the worst trade, because you gave up pieces that you would probably still have now that were valuable and that could have been used. Like, we're looking for certain things. These players, like Kuz would be awesome on this team. KCP will be awesome on this team. Like, these are players that you could have kept from then, and your trajectory would have probably been higher than it's been, right? And they came off of a season where that was the 21-22 season, where they started that season 21-6. LeBron was looking like not only an MVP candidate, but ESPN had him ranked as a DPOY top choice too that year, until the Solomon Hill thing happens, of course. Right. That was, and I think, on the side note, I think the Solomon Hill thing and the Russ thing together effectively closed this team's title window, period. I think those two things closed this team's title window because of this trade. But I think that is probably the biggest mistake that he's made. And he's made a lot of them, and he's not been able to recover from it. Despite the trade that he makes a couple years later to get Vando and those guys, he's not been able to recover from that trade. And you could argue that's the worst trade in the history of the league.
Damn, that's tough.
You could. The way that it impacts that team's future, I think, is kind of crazy.
Yeah. It was a really bad trade. Don't get me wrong. The Solo, go ahead. What's your
I got no choice but to agree with D Free. The Russell Westbrook trade was terrible. I for one, when I heard the rumors that they were thinking about picking him up, I was screaming, "Please don't!" Yeah, because we were looking for three and D guys. And
wasn't it Dame first? Weren't they trying to get Dame that offseason?
Yeah. Dame. They were just they were star hunting.
Yeah, they wanted a third name, because Rob also had Buddy and who was it? It was the sack trade with Kuz going there for Buddy or something like that. Yeah, but they didn't do that at the end. So, my bad. Solo.
Yeah, that trade was it was terrible. You gave up our 3-and-D guys, and we were looking for more 3-and-D to go with this team. You gave up what little bit we had to go with a guy with no 3 or no D. And that just completely crushed the chemistry of this team. And I understand why the Lakers did it, because that's what they've always been known to do, is to go after the star. But, they should have looked beyond the name and seeing what the team really needed at that time in order to, be real title contenders. Though, like D Free said, those pieces that we let go of are the pieces a lot of Lakers fans are like, please bring back right now, and are key pieces that we could use right now. Your KCP was an excellent defender for us, and he could knock down a clutch shot here and there. Kuz, he was snatching boards. He was playing solid defense, and then he can, he'll get on a streak, and he could shoot the lights out every once in a while. So it's just unfortunate that, I think LeBron put a lot of pressure on the front office too to get that trade done, and part of the downfall of the LeBron era Lakers is due to LeBron himself, because he wants certain things to move that aren't necessarily the best for him or the team. So that's on LeBron as well, and AD. AD wanted it too, so it was on the superstars as well as Pelinka. Yeah. Even though Pelinka has the ultimate, green light, on decisions for the personnel, a lot of teams are going to listen to their superstar athletes and do what they want done. So,
I want to say really quick. I think there's two things also. The first thing is, I think they really saw what Brooklyn did and were like, we need to match this, because Brooklyn put 3 stars together as well. But I think that they truly looked at that and said, okay, if this is a thing, we need to match that firepower. Yeah. Secondly, I want to read you guys some of the performances from these guys we're talking up right now in that round against the Suns in the playoffs. Kuz shot 29% from the field and 17% from 3 on 6 points. KCP, 6 points, 37 from the field, 21 from 3. Caruso, I'm not so mad about Caruso because he's never been a scorer, but 6 points, 36 from the field, 29 from 3. Like, all these guys, you can look up and down, all those guys grossly underperformed in that series. I remember LeBron pulled KCP to the side and was chewing him out for not shooting the ball. These guys put up bagels. I think Dennis had a game out there. He put up bagels too. So when you're seeing that, and and I'm not trying to like justify it, just more like thinking about it. If you're LeBron, I'm getting older. AD is injury prone. He goes down in this series. LeBron was out there trying to get these guys to do something. These guys couldn't do anything. So I think saying, okay, let's go get a surefire thing also was part of the thought process. And yeah, they absolutely put a lot of pressure, because I think AD looked at it the same way too. But we want these guys. They're role players, but they were inconsistent. Yeah. And in 2020, it didn't matter as much because LeBron was at another level. He was extremely good. You got to think about 2021, the following year. Again, Solomon Hill happens. LeBron, he comes out. He has some good games, but he never was truly the way he was prior to that injury. The explosiveness was shot. He just wasn't the same. So I think that when you talk about the Russ trade, there's a lot of different elements you have to look at. But ultimately, the Stars, Pelinka, they pushed for it, and I think that really was the worst trade to ever could have happened.
Yeah. I'm gonna chime in here a little bit. I'm gonna differ a little bit, because you're right. That was one of the worst trades that I can remember for the Lakers. The other one was the Steve Nash trade when we did that years ago. Yeah, that was horrible as well. But I gotta tell you guys this. For me, the biggest mistake that Rob Pelinka made was letting go of Dwight Howard and the backup big man, which was JaVale McGee at the time, and going completely away from the double big man lineup. Like, to me, that has been the biggest mistake, because he hasn't corrected it since. I feel like the Russ trade isn't the biggest for me, only because they moved off of that contract. They actually brought in Vando and D'Lo, some decent contracts in return, right? And still have some flexibility for trades here and there, even though they haven't done nothing since. But for me, that's the biggest issue, just because I hate small ball. I know statistically you're gonna try to shred me, D-Free. I know it. You're gonna say,
no, trust me, I got something to say. Don't worry.
So my thing is, ever since we went away from the dual big man lineup, we haven't had success consistently. We have been up and down, but more down than up. And we've gotten cooked in playoffs by teams that have multiple big men, right? And so I think for sure that, to me, that has been the biggest mistake that the front office has made, was trying to adapt our game to other teams versus, like you already mentioned, D-Free, instead of looking at Brooklyn, we should have looked from within and how we can improve without subtracting some of the key pieces we had. Like minor improvements here and there, but it took us a long way. Instead, we went and completely gave ourselves a facelift. Now we're out here looking like Mike Jackson, God rest his soul. But, it just wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look for the Lakers. And to me, it hasn't been. We keep pointing at the coaches because they're going small ball. What else can they do with the roster that we have? They don't have a legitimate big man that they can go to alongside AD to say, okay, AD, you're back at the floor. We have this floor spacing big who can rebound and block shots. And to be fair, those are hard to find. But we went away from it, and we haven't been the same. Also, we let go of Caruso along the way. key role players that were key to that championship run, we completely went away from what was working. But I'll start with the size. For me, that is the biggest mistake that they have made. For me personally.
So I agree with you for the most part. What I'll say is, and I've said this before, but that season, and we have the numbers for this. AD played 60% of his minutes at power forward and 40% at center because he was oftentimes ending games. And then in the playoffs, like I've said before, they just didn't have some of these guys. Like there was a series where Dwight's not in the rotation at all, playing 0 minutes. There was a series where JaVale's not in the rotation at all. They leaned a lot on AD at the center, Markieff Morris, who never gets talked about. He was extremely good for that team. LeBron, Kuzma, they were the bigs a lot of the time. But I'll throw the bone that was big for that team. But the following year, AD plays 90% of his minutes at power forward and 10% at center, much less than the title year. So they were leaning on the double big man lineup the following year more, where they doubled down on it, brought in Montrezl Harrell, Marc Gasol. Dwight was going to come. He said he was coming and then deleted that tweet and then didn't come because he was impatient when he saw that Montrezl was coming. But they did try to do it again. They even tried to do it a little bit more and go and the following year. But by that point, they brought in that old team, DeAndre. I don't really care about that team. But they did try to do it. The problem is that the last few years, this is your point, the last few years, starting in 2023, AD played 100% of his minutes at the center. This following season, 97. This season so far, 96% of his minutes. They've gone so the point is the optionality. They've gone so far away from having the optionality that I think that is a hindrance. I don't think they need to start two bigs. I don't think they need to have AD out there exclusively at the 4 because that's honestly never really been the case. If you look at his career, he's always had a good split between the two. But I think that they need the optionality. It can't be 100, 96, 97. It needs to be 70, 30, something like that. They don't have the guys out there. And even if they trade for Kessler or somebody like just hypothetically Kessler because everyone talks about him, AD's still going to play a good chunk of his minutes at center because Kessler's not going to play 48 minutes. AD's going to still wind up being in those lineups. And one of the reasons they won in 2020, despite jettisoning some of these guys from the rotation, was because if you think about it, their quote unquote small ball with AD at the center was bigger, faster, stronger than everyone else. Putting LeBron and AD at the power forward and center was a cheat code. And it was one of the main reasons we won. In fact, we won the title game by putting Caruso in the group and taking Dwight out. Or was it JaVale? I'm not sure. But taking one of those guys out and putting Caruso in, we won the title game doing that. So you can't just ignore that stuff. But I do think for the duration of a season, you need the optionality, which Rob has absolutely failed to do, getting guys like Jackson Hayes, who I don't really mind. But I think you need a specific type of player on this team that we just have not been able to get back since.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because we need that bruising big, man. You know, it's like you said, we need the optionality. You know, if we're gonna have AD 100% at the center, then you're getting diminishing returns from him. You got to be able to balance it out because he's, you know, the last line of defense. Well, probably the first line of defense most times because can't nobody guard anybody. We're switching everything, you know.
I hate the switching.
Then we need to rely on his offense as well, you know. So he's getting burnt on defense, and then have to turn around and try to bang down low. It's not working. It's a recipe for disaster. We've seen it. We've been swept by Denver with him getting beat up by Yoke. It's just not. It's not going to work. You need situational players. You know, you need a situational big man. So for when we go up against the Embiids and we go up against the Jokic's, we got that big body going there, get a few fouls, let AD catch a breather. He go out there and he could do his work. So Rob, you know, ever since he's seen us win a title, it's like, come on, man, open up your eyes.
But that's what I'm trying to say. That was my whole point. Is that, and to add to everything you guys said is correct. I don't disagree with any of you guys. But to add to my point, and D Free just made it. The last couple of years, he's been playing 96% and up at the center position. That's why his body always looks worn out. Like he'll look amazing one game, and then 2 games, he'll drop an 8-point game here or a 12-point game here. Then the next game he'll drop a 30. That's because we don't have that optionality, that big man to do the dirty work, especially when we go up against bigger teams, like Solo said. And that to me has been the biggest mistake from Rob Pelinka. He completely went away from trying to prolong these guys' careers, right? And try to make it like give them more longevity. That's the biggest issue for me. It's not about starting too big, just like you said, D Free. It's about having that option and just being able to keep our guy AD fresh, because right now he looks like an old man. He looks like grandma's cookies out there.
Yeah.
Right?
How much of that do you think is because of LeBron though, aging up?
Well, yeah, some of that it's going to be because of LeBron, because I don't want to play him at the 3, but I still rather have Kessler coming off that bench and giving us those valuable minutes.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
That's a issue Rob should have been taken care of when Bron got here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he got here, you should have already known, hey, he's aging. He's, granted, he's great. Mm-hmm. However, how can we maximize our time with LeBron James? You know, how can we keep him fresh as he's getting older? And you got to bring in pieces that can let him get a breather, as well as Anthony Davis, because you really need those guys when it comes postseason.
Absolutely.
You know, for the regular season, we need the good, tight role players and the consistent role players to help push our superstars through to the end where they can close the deal. So, Rob, what are you doing?
Yep. And you know what? Let me take a quick little brief break. Read a couple of these super chats. Tyrone says Denver just got belt to ass. Warriors. So wait, it was the in-season tournament, right? Today. So are they eliminated? I think they're eliminated then if it was today. I think so. Or no. That was on Friday. Never mind. Yeah, bro. Hey, listen, Denver is not the team that we make them out to be. Like, we make them look invincible. Teams have figured out Denver. Other teams are beating Denver consistently. It's just us. Braden says that trade completely changed the course of the Lakers. Absolutely devastating trade. Loving the show, big bro. Appreciate you, Braden. He said, "What's up, Solo and D Free?"
What's up? And
then my guy, appreciate that, Braden. My guy Isaiah Jordan says, "Blow it up, Dan." They ready, man. They're ready for the next chapter. Well, be careful what you wish for, guys. I agree that I think, I can't wait for the next era. But right now, I think we're in the time when we've seen this with Kobe Bryant, where we're kind of had our hands tied, right? Because we've seen a superstar have kind of his farewell tour, and we're going to struggle a little bit unless a miracle happens. Unless the Lakers get on the phone, go get Trae Young and some other role players to go along and plug in, or something crazy like that. I just don't see them winning a championship anytime soon. But you never know. Again, I've seen miracles happen before. I've seen trade deadlines that change the course of Laker fans' life. Pau Gasol, right? Probably the greatest one of all time. Right? So if Rob does have a little bit of magic left in him, I'd love to see it before this trade deadline. All right. Let's see here. So, okay, the Lakers have been outscored by 70 points over the last 2 games, y'all.
Disgusting.
Yeah, that is their worst point differential over any 2-game stretch in franchise history.
I knew it.
Now they might, they might end up with only 1 chip, right? Is this, if assuming they end up with only 1 championship, is this going to be the worst superstar duo in Lakers history if that happens?
Absolutely.
I'd have to look at all the superstar duos.
I don't even have to look.
Magic, Kareem, Shaq, Kobe, Gasol, Kobe.
They've had more before Magic, Kareem, though.
Wilt, Jerry.
What about some other guys in there? There's some others in there too. That's what I said. I gotta look
at it.
Superstars.
Super duper stars. Okay.
Like the faces of the franchise. Like these are they're getting paid like superstars, so we can hold them accountable like superstars, even though there's nothing super.
No, that's fine. I just wasn't sure about all the names because there's been a lot of names. So
yeah, so we have to, we have to kind of take this into account. So would you guys, if that ended right now, I think it is gonna be considered the worst duo in Lakers franchise superstar history. So that's saying a lot, and I don't think LeBron wants that to happen. But at the same time, if you're LeBron James and you see what Rob Pelinka has done, he drafted my son, made a couple of mistakes along the way. He did listen to LeBron on some of those things, like the Russ trade, a couple of those things. Would you, if you're LeBron James right now, would you seek a trade out of LA if this continues to spiral downwards? P-Free?
No. I mean, I think for LeBron's best interest, he should go to a team like, ideally, not this season because they're terrible, they're injured, but ideally a team like Philadelphia that has a lot of options that he can go on and not have to be even like the 3rd, 4th best player on any given night, conceptually, because they're not good this year. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he'll write it out. I don't know that he cares about hypothetically being the worst duo ever. because I think if you're LeBron, you have the fallback of, I didn't come here in my prime. I came here post prime. Like I'm 40 years old. Like I'm not 30-year-old LeBron or 28-year-old. That's different. I think that matters. So had he come in his career earlier or sooner, then that'd be a little bit different. I think he's more so happy. I think he still wants to win more, of course, but I think he's more so happy that he at least got one. I think there might have been a real concern that to him internally if he was never going to get one. That was one of the talking points Stephen A used to say a lot. Oh, if LeBron doesn't win one, he's going to be the only superstar that's ever come to LA and didn't deliver a championship. I'm not saying he's content, but I think that for him that mattered a lot, getting at least one here, because I think he was probably concerned that he wasn't going to get one. So I don't really know that he should be looking for a way out. And in terms of the worst duo, to be honest, if they win another one, they're probably still that, right? Like I think
if they win another one, they tied Kobe Gasol duo. So they're at least like they surpassing the Wilt Chamberlain Jerry West duo, because the Wilt Chamberlain Jerry West duo only won, I believe, one or two. I think it was one.
Well, if the only criteria is the number of championships, then okay, I guess that makes sense.
No, it matters to Laker fans, man. Let me tell you something. Laker fans, we will hold LeBron and AD to that standard. I know I will.
I'll push back on that a little bit. I think it's a longevity of greatness in between that, because even if you don't win a championship, are you competitive in those years?
Yeah, that's what I meant too. Like if they were always there, that'd be a little different.
Right, because Jerry West and Wilt, they were there a lot. Mm-hmm. Even though they weren't able to close the deal, they were there. They were competitive. As far as the LeBron era Lakers, we've been, getting into the play-in by the skin of our teeth type stuff. So,
and considering all of that, guys, let me put a part 2 to that question. Would you guys? Let's just say LeBron retired tomorrow and AD asked for a trade to Chicago tomorrow. Would you guys consider the LeBron AD era in LA a failure or a success?
I say it's a success. They got a chip. It may not be as many titles as we would have expected them to get, but they still got a chip, and that means a lot. For that, when we got it, we tied Boston at that point. So I'm forever grateful for that. Because some franchises, you go a whole lifetime and never see a championship, man. I'm blessed enough to have seen like 6. So
yep, same. Okay, that's a fair take. Chat, you guys make sure you guys log in your answers as well. Is it a failure or a success with the one championship? D-Free, what do you think? Okay.
I agree with Solo. I think the context around the chip matters too. I think the 2020 chip is special in its own way, especially for Lakers fans coming off of what happened to Kobe. Obviously, what happens in the world with COVID, I think that stuff matters. But I know that typically the criteria is multiple championships to be considered a success. I've heard you say that a lot of times, Dan. The way I think about that is, well, for one, I think you can, like I say, you always have the excuse of LeBron is older. It's not the same. AD's sometimes kind of wishy-washy. But the way I think about it is, I think the era is different as a whole. And I think that matters. I think the distribution of star players around the league, the way that the league has been over this period, matters too. And I think when you factor in all the context around it, I think it's probably a little bit, I don't want to say harder to win, but I think that there's so much talent spread out right now in a way that it probably wasn't before, to where that's why every year, somebody else is winning it. I mean, there's no back-to-backs. We haven't had a back-to-back since the Warriors did, and before that, the Heat. Like, this era is different.
You're telling me the era is a product of the new CBA, huh?
It's harder to retain
multiple CBAs, but yeah, it's harder to retain talent. It's hard to do a lot of things. So I think all that context matters, right? But, I think also for some people, they'll just say, well, screw all that. Chip or no. So if that's the case, then no. But I think for me, I agree with Solo. I think that matters.
Okay, fair enough, fellas. Really quick, let me go ahead and read this super chat. Gemini Don says, Bobby Marks said a trade that could happen is Vincent for Valanciunas because of the new CBA/apron. Lakers can't take another huge salary. Yeah, that second apron or whatever is keeping us locked in. We got to take in equal salary.
we're $20,000 below the apron,
Hmm.
like $20,000 or $30,000. Like it's not even like $1 million, $20,000 below the cap. So any
Yeah.
trade they make, they've got to make sure they don't trigger
Mhm.
that second apron because it'll get more restricted. So that's also why Rob has been like super, iffy about making a trade because it's got to be airtight.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna give you guys my take on whether I think it's a success or a failure between LeBron and AD. Assuming they only win one championship and that one championship didn't bring us a parade, I will say it's a failure. As unfair as it sounds, we mortgaged a lot to bring in two superstars. We pay two superstars, and usually when that happens in La La Land, we get multiple championships. So by that standard, and it is a golden standard, it is never a fair standard. I'm not saying it's a fair standard, but by that, I am grateful for the championship. But god damn it, the expectation was more, man. The expectation was more when we traded for these guys, and they haven't lived up to that expectation.
Yeah,
So by
they've just been so up and down with all the injuries they got. They just started getting so many injuries in the middle of their tenure. And I think that really ruined those years.
right, it did. But again, some of that is on the front office because those mistakes we made with the Russ situation and everything, and some of that will also fall on the players, just not enough dog in them or whatever. But right now we're healthy for them. Not really healthy, but our stars are healthy, and we're still figuring out ways to barely screech by and beat the Jazz. So I think this season so far is a big question mark. What are you guys' final projections for the season? This is my last question. What is your guys' final projection for the season? Assuming we make a decent trade, like where do you think the Lakers could end up?
I think if we get a decent trade, I feel like we could be in the mix. We could be 4 or 5 in the West. As far as going all the way, I don't see it happening, but we could be in the mix if we get a nice solid trade. It depends on our bench. We have to get some production off our bench because if we don't get any production off our bench, no matter who we bring in, it's a wrap.
Yeah, true. Very true. That bench is weak right now, man. What about you, D Free? Where do you think we're gonna end up this season?
Part of me says playing again, if I'm being honest, if things stay the same. But if they do make a trade, I think 4, 5, 6 is a good spot for them. They've just got to go on a run at the right time and just hang in there. You can't get too close to 500, below 500, of course, because last year we saw them kind of straddle that line, and they hit a point last year where they were winning every single game, but they were stuck in the 9th seed.
Yeah.
They hit a point like that. And so that's why, like, early in the year, you got to at least be close. But it's also, I think, dependent on Rob making a trade, similar to the Mavs last year, where they were kind of around 500 or at 500. They make a couple trades and boom, finals.
Right.
So, like, I think that could happen for us if we get extremely lucky. We get the right trade. I think that's in there somewhere as a possibility. But 4, 5, 6, if that happens. But otherwise, maybe 6 at best, I think is where we're kind of going to sit. So we'll see what happens.
And that's optimist D Free right there. That's optimist prime D Free, man.
Yeah.
I
think they're going to get like 47 wins.
And that's if we stay healthy on top of all that.
Yeah, got to stay healthy again. Last year they had the stars healthy.
Yeah, but
the players weren't healthy. Healthy. They need this whole team healthy, and they're already off to a bad start.
Yeah, absolutely.
We haven't seen Christian Wood since the All-Star break.
Something
he wasn't even playing in a game.
We haven't seen Vando since February. So
that's crazy. I remember the last impact that Vando made was at the in-season tournament last year. Since then, he really
it was the Boston game, dude. That Boston game, he got hurt in that game. He played like half that or one quarter or the half, and he was on fire. He was a one-man wrecking crew in that Boston game where we won without LeBron and out AD. But he got hurt that game. We didn't see him again.
Is he the third best player we have, guys? Really quick, when he's healthy after LeBron and AD, is he the third best player impact wise?
He could be. The tricky thing with him, and it's similar to Cam, is the opposition doesn't guard them. Like Cam will be out there, and they just don't even guard him. They just bring their guy to guard AD, and that's part of why AD's been having difficulties lately. Is they've changed how they're guarding him. And with Vando, that happens too. So I think it's dependent on how you use these guys. You got to put them in dribble handoffs. You got to have them be a screener. You got to have all these different things happening. But if Vando's out there and he's playing like that Boston game or like that Dallas game, that first year, then yeah, he could be one of our most impactful players.
Yeah,
I give it to AR. I think AR is our third best player, man.
I like AR too.
Vando can't dribble, man. You can't dribble. I can't put you as a third best player on the team, bro.
Can't dribble or shoot.
Man, that brings us for 26 down to top 10 defense, man. That's a lot of impact, you know. But nah, I'm right there with you. I think AR is our third best player as well.
Yeah. I think it's like a 3A, 3B, 3C team like thing, depending who you're talking about. Like they're all kind of like right there.
It just sucks because we have all these one-dimensional players, man. It's just like one's you're good at this, but you're bad on the other end. You know what I mean? I wish we could just mash them together, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
It's just ridiculous because it's like, okay, now we need defense. So let's go sit AR, let's bring Vando in, or you know what I mean? It's just like, what are we doing on the offseason? Are we practicing these skills? What's going on, man? It's crazy. It's crazy because I would think as an NBA player you would know how to dribble the basketball. It's crazy.
It's tough. All right. Well, fellas, I think that's going to wrap it up for another episode of Around the League. I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. You guys were spectacular today, man. And chat, you guys were awesome as well. Always participating, always contributing. I thank you guys as well. But before I let you guys go ahead and tell our good people what you guys been up to and where they can find you at.
Solo, you can go, man.
Oh, yeah, Solo. I don't have any socials right now, but I'll be working on it and get something together real soon for y'all.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Announcement by Solo. I like the sound of that. And D Free, talk to him, man. I know you're busy, brother.
You can find me on channel called D Free, where I do gaming content. You can find me on the Lakers Nation channel a few times a week, and you can see me every day on Basketball Bulletin, where I cover the entire league. And Trevor and I co-own that channel, and that's what we do over there.
Awesome. And the Basketball Bulletin is a great channel. You guys definitely go check them out. Go subscribe. Go hit the like button on D Free, man. I do appreciate both of you fellas for joining me, guys. Thank you guys again, everybody, man. Another successful episode of Around the League, and that's going to wrap it up for us. I will see you guys here hopefully next week. All right. Happy holidays, everyone. Peace.
Later.